Tap is back.
No,
So,
really?
Yeah. Actually, somebody actually paid to put their ad on our podcast.
Wow, that is awesome. Who is it?
Well, listen to this.
Ooh, nice segue.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
So
I didn't hear anything.
This is a really Tap.
And the illusion is broken.
No, really. I didn't
That's
hear
like
anything.
fourth wall. She like looked into the camera. You know, she like,
She looked into the camera and talked to the
Oh my
audience.
God,
Oh no.
you guys kill me.
you're supposed to pretend you heard it.
Hey everybody, welcome to Lions Pride Tavern, podcast number 77, the double seven. Tonight we find out how we did in this weekend's continuous raid of Antorus the Burning Throne. And tonight, our infamous series, Dancing with the Bosses, continues, and we have a surprise. But before all that, let's start off with introductions. I'm your host, Stafford. I play a Dwarven Beastmaster Hunter in the awesome game World of Warcraft. Next up is JobUi.
Hi, I'm JobUi. I play a Worgen Mage.
And Lorelei.
Hi, it's Lorelei, your night elf arms warrior.
Epistle.
Protection. Pally, Drenai, that's me.
Ooh, changed
And
it up.
our surprise, Tap is back. Tappuccino.
Yay.
Welcome back,
Hey,
Tap.
Thank you. It's Tappuccino, your night elf resto druid.
See, she didn't change. She's been gone for a while, and she's just still Night Elf Restoration Druid. Yeah.
Yeah, and I actually didn't have to read that too. I remembered.
No cue cards tonight, right?
No cue cards, yeah.
No,
Nice.
not tonight.
So, JobUi, you said just a Worgen Mage. You
Right.
were changing up again?
You know, I'm still. I played some Frost this week, and while Frost is simming higher, and I'm doing better with Frost on the dummies. You know, I've got a little bit of ring rust in the actual raid, so I'm playing a little bit of Frost, a little bit of Fire, because I'm getting better. I'm getting better numbers out of Fire in some of the fights, and than I am Frost. But I think it's mostly due to ring rust. Just being out of practice with Frost.
All right.
So I'll be switching back and forth.
Okay. Fair enough. Are they pretty close? Frost and Fire?
As far as damage goes?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say
Ease of play?
relatively close. Ease of play, you know, they're very different. Fire is a lot of like, you know, like you're building up procs and you're firing them off and you're kind of comboing up things while you're like building up procs and stuff. Where Frost is more of like this, it's kind of a cycle, like where you just go through like a cycle and wait for procs, where you don't build them up so much. You're just sort of hoping for them to appear for you. So, and sometimes they don't, and that's really frustrating with Frost, and there's not a lot of control over it. Basically, as you get higher with Fire, it's higher crit. The RNG gets a little bit less with Fire, but with Frost, it's still kind of up in the air as to whether or not you'll get a proc, and sometimes you'll sit there and just having to keep Frostbolt for a while because you're just not getting the procs and stuff that you need. So, little hit or miss, but
Yeah.
You know,
Okay.
different.
Yeah. Okay. Because I play the best one. I play Arcane. And I don't know.
I love that. I'm leveling my Void Elf with Arcane. I love it. I'm
Yeah.
killing things in like 2-3 hits. Where with Fire, when I started out so I could practice it, I'm like, all right, let me stand way back over here and use that first attack because it's going to take me a minute to get it cast.
I will say that
No, that's not working for me.
a big advantage of Fire after you hit 110 and have your artifact weapon, though, is survivability. I'd say Fire is easily the most survivable of the three.
Not when you're a little low level, it's not.
No,
You
Low
get
level.
eat up.
Yeah.
I remember getting killed and killed and killed as a fire mage back in the early
Yeah.
days.
Yep.
Well, I did too, like a long time ago, but it's been a long time since I
It
leveled
was
a
a
fire
long
mage.
time.
Like years and years.
Well, but Lorelai, using the heirloom gear though, that must help a lot.
Yeah, that helps. But even with the heirloom gear, it's like, all right, let me see. Is there a mob? Okay, no. All right, that means I can walk up. Oh, let me get just where my button lights up. All right, let's start that first cast. Wait. Okay, it hits. Now I need to hit a second one. Oh, I need to wait. And then, please don't come up and hit me. And then I die. But with arcane, you're just bam, 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 and building up that arcane explosion or blast, whichever one it is. And that thing's dead before it even gets up to me.
Yeah.
So would you
So
say
I'm like,
that?
yes.
So like the arcane mage is like good for leveling, and then switching
I
over
think
to
so.
frost and fire once you get
Yeah.
up to the. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Well-
did frost when. Of course, you have to be higher to get some of the good frost weapons, but I mean attacks. But yeah, that's when you get a mob come up, then you can freeze them and run away, and at least survive a little bit.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's there. All three specs are viable, and at the high end, you're talking like one of them might get, as far as the rating goes, a couple 100K higher. I would say Frost is probably stronger single target. Fire is probably stronger multi-target, and cleave. But an Arcane, from what I've seen, is like kind of a mix of both.
Mhm.
But it's really, I think it can come down to preference, but I would say that Frost scales better with the item level than Fire at this point. Yeah.
I have a 104 frost mage, and I don't play her much because she's just so squishy at that stage. I guess there
Well,
must be, you
mages,
get
period.
so far.
Yeah.
Yep, glass cannons.
Yeah. Until you get a tanky setup like what I've got. I think it's ridiculous, man. My tank setup, I've been experimenting with it, and when I stand still in PvP, I end up with over 4 million HP worth of shields, and my health jumps up to somewhere around 7 million. So I've got about 11 million for somebody to try and knock me out, and that's if I just stand there and I don't blink and heal myself for 20% of my health every 15 seconds. It's pretty ruthless. Almost unfair. I actually killed like a whole group of 5 people in the Murloc village this week.
Ooh.
That's pretty awesome. I remember being a very new mage. Maybe I told the story before, and I was in this one zone, killing one mob at a time in fire, and in came this frost mage on a mount, which of course I couldn't afford yet, ran around, gathered up 8 or 10, and then just leveled them. And I just thought, I'm doing this wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did that. That's why I switched to my hunter from my mage, is because I watched one guy play and he's like circling the wagons around all the mobs and just running, and his pet's in there killing, and he's just shooting his bow, and I'm like, man, that looks easy.
That's the way to do it.
That's what I want to play. The Beastmaster Hunter. Yeah, of
Mobs
course,
for
Blizzard
nothing
then,
and your pets for free.
and Blizzard found out that I had a Beastmaster Hunter, and yeah, so that was the end of that one. So, well, let's move on to how we did this weekend, because I'm kind of excited to hear you guys' opinion on this one. So, JobUI, why don't you cap us off?
All right, so on our opening night, we took out Guidotti on normal. We skipped to Agrimar, took out Agrimar, and then we went to Argus. And Argus was people I don't know, they just were ignoring mechanics on our first pull and trying to kill everybody with the mechanics there. It was pretty
The
frustrating.
Soul Blight, Soul Blast, whatever.
Yeah, the
Soul
Soul
Blight.
Blight.
Can't think of any names of anything tonight.
Yeah, the Soul Blight was, they were just dropping it right on top of the stack. They just weren't moving, weren't paying attention. And then, I was hearing like the excuses of like, maybe DBM is messed up. No,
No.
it was
no.
not messed
yeah,
up.
Yeah.
There was no weak auras problem. There was no DBM problem. It was just pure laziness of paying attention to the mechanics.
I couldn't
And-
tell whether it was the JobUI alarm or just the, okay, come on, let's not do it this way alarm.
Oh,
I
I
think the alarm went off. I definitely heard a wah, 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 wah.
I was just disappointed. more
Yeah.
than anything else, you know?
Well, I think we
'cause-
got just lackadaisical because the people that were getting hit with that weren't people that you would expect that wouldn't move
yeah.
either.
That's why I was so disappointed, you know, because you know, like there are better players than that, you know, and they know that fight. We've been doing it every week, like on farm. It's not even tough anymore, and they're just standing there, and I'm like, are you kidding me? And it happened 3 times in a row. It wasn't like it happened once.
Right.
Every time it came up, it was like somebody was messing it up, and I'm just
And,
like,
and it was always somebody else. That was interesting because I was watching who was doing
Yeah,
it.
it wasn't
you know,
the same
I was keeping
person
my
each
eyes on-
time.
Yeah, just
No.
somebody and then somebody else and
Yeah.
then somebody else and then somebody else.
yeah, it was annoying. So, second poll after a little bit of annoyance and alarm going off, a couple of them actually, not just me. And then we killed Argus, and we went back on heroic and took out Guidotti Worldbreaker, took out Fellhounds, went on to ENR the Lifebinder, and I think it was 2 polls on ENR the Lifebinder this week. Got ENR the Lifebinder down just before the end of the raid, and then we came back the next night, and we went after Antorus High Command, and we spent a good amount of time on that. Now there were a few unexpected breaks. I had some children that I had to attend to occasionally that I had to step away, so we had a couple of like extra mini breaks there. But we you know, we had a pretty good pull on one. We almost got it down by the skin of our teeth, but ended up dying. And then it just sort of kept going downhill from there. And about 2/3 of the way through the raid, and seeing that it wasn't really getting closer to killing the boss, seemed like it was getting further away. I suggested that maybe we switch to normal, go kill a few bosses in there, just kind of have some fun and enjoy ourselves for the remainder of the raid, which there seemed to be a pretty wide agreement on. And so we did that, and we killed Fellhounds, and we also killed who was the second one we went after in there?
Stafford's
Iminar.
favorite.
No, my favorite.
Coven. We went after Coven. Right.
Oh yeah, because we had some quests in there.
Right.
People had quests.
Yep. And, you know, we actually, I would say that ended up being a really pretty good choice because we had a few pieces of gear that dropped that turned out to be upgrades for various people. It wasn't a complete waste where just a bunch of people got gear that they couldn't use. There was some pieces that went out, so the team is a little bit stronger for having done it, and it was a bit more fun than just banging our head against a wall in a fight that I don't think we were going to get on our second night.
Yeah,
this
and
week.
frankly, I was happy that went back to Coven because we hadn't been there for a few weeks too, and it's always good just to get a little refresher. And a few people, for example, forgot that fire is bad. Don't stand there.
I forgot that.
No, we were just chatting so much because it was
Yes.
sort of easy that we weren't really paying attention as much as we should have. It was a little too lackadaisical, and we lost a few people to the flamethrowers. So
Yeah, Jordan
I was
goes.
face plant on the floor at the end.
Yeah, Jordan goes. Oh, fire! Forgot.
yeah, and I'm like I was like whoa, and I had to like blink out of the middle. And because I was in the middle too. I wasn't really paying that close
I
attention.
wasn't either. I died.
That's
Oh.
the lightning that
I
gets
actually-
me every time.
Oh, the standing next to other people. Well, you're melee,
Yeah.
so
Yeah,
that was
that is
perhaps-
melee's. Oh, I hate that part of the fight
Yeah.
with passion because no matter what I do, I'm standing next to somebody. So I said this time when it started to come up, I was going to run to the middle and stand there for a second and let range take care of it a little bit and then go in. But I wasn't paying attention to the cast bar and got
Right.
caught.
I would say, in my opinion, the thing that was stopping us this week on High Command was twofold. One, we had a larger group than normal that we were working with, and two, the heals were a little bit soft. They were trying hard, but I just don't think we were getting the numbers that we have been getting out of our healing team recently. Where we have gotten that fight down, and I think they were just getting behind. We started losing players, and once we started losing players, it just started cascading out
Yeah,
of
there's
control.
no coming back when you start dropping people. People
Mhm.
start dropping. It was a very tough fight. We were losing a lot of mana as well, so we weren't able to keep up the heals like we would normally do.
Mm-hmm. But it was a little bit different makeup than we normally have for healers too. We were missing a
Yeah.
few of our regulars, We had a few fill-in healers, people who don't normally heal all the time, that were healing to make up for some absent healers that are normally there. So, but it was
a good bid.
Yeah, it was a good try, but I just don't think we had it.
Would we have been able to go? Was there another heroic boss we could have tried?
Portal Keeper,
Yeah,
but
I'm not sure Portal Keeper would have
We
been.
wouldn't have gotten
That's-
because I
I
thought
thi-
with a bigger group, maybe that one would have been a better fight to try.
I don't know.
Portal Keepers are all about makeup, though. You know, if you
Do
don't
we
have
have
the right
the makeup
makeup.
for that?
Well, you have to have the
We-
right combination of makeup.
Okay.
We might have had the right makeup for that. I think the key with Portal Keeper is the number of people that are AoE, but I also think that the number of imps that spawn is relative to the number of players, so we might have gotten an enormous amount of imps in that
Yeah.
fight as well.
I would also say no, because from a tanking perspective, we take quite a bit of punching hits there, and there's some times where you have to, and that's really demanding on healers too. So I think that would have been even worse.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah,
Because there were some people that were asking me if we could have gone to a different one, and I said, "Well, I don't know. I'll ask and see."
Yeah, I mean, we could have, but I'm not sure we would have had success on it. And I think we probably would have just been changing gears and still not making it. And ultimately, I think it ended up better just because I did see some gear go out to people, and I did see
Yeah.
them get a little stronger.
And
I got
actually,
an upgrade on my wrists.
yeah, was that from the quest turn in, or from the boss?
From the bot, actually, someone had dropped some. I think they were Warforged or something. There were 940s and I had 935s on, so not much. No, I had 930s on, so I won that roll for the wrists and
Yeah.
get an upgrade.
Oh,
I got a
nice!
heroic,
I've
And I
been
got my
wanting
trinket
wrists.
Friday
I-
night.
I got a nice. Yeah, I
Oh,
got a
good.
heroic Warforged ring out of the chest actually for doing the quest, so that was worth it for me.
Yeah, I think I saw a 950 Titan Forged Relic drop too, out of normal when we went back to that.
Yeah, so it wasn't bad.
Yeah, I mean, there was a few good pieces of loot, and that'll make everybody a little bit stronger, or those players, that got some upgrades, either from this week's raid or from jumping into normal a little bit better, and I think it was, a little bit of a relief because we were really banging our heads. We hadn't gotten a single boss down on the second night until we switched to
Yeah.
normal.
And it's
So-
nice to leave with a positive experience.
Yeah,
Especially where it was our second night.
Yeah, and going all raid with the prospect of not getting a single boss down and just kind of like that bang your head against the wall thing, that's bad for morale.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I'm sure glad we switched back to normal because I was like, oh, this is getting so frustrating, banging our head. Now, on the flip side, Antorus High Command and Portal Keeper are our two progression bosses. I mean, we have
Mhm.
been getting Antorus High Command down, and we got really close. But I mean, what did we have that one poll? It was like 359,000.
Yeah,
all
it
that was
was
there?
almost down. It should have gone down.
Yeah.
Well, and I confess, I was getting grumpy because people were forgetting positioning, so they were often standing by
Yeah.
the tanks, taking damage they didn't need to. But that got cleaned up within, a few pulls. That stopped being a problem, but we still had all kinds of other just issues to sort through, and I did not relish doing it over and over and over.
yeah, and
And it's a longer run back too.
we seem to in that one we seem to have been, we were trying to find ways of working around the shortcomings that were coming up in the numbers, and we just weren't finding it. And yeah, I would consider Antoran High Command, Portal Keeper, and Iminar basically our three progression bosses. Like, there's a good chance that we could get through them if we have the right makeup and the numbers are working out for us that night. But if it's not, then any one of those could be a showstopper.
Yeah. It was kind of funny when we went back to normal. People are like, why did it portal me here? Okay,
Yeah.
I know.
guys, remember we started
know.
off normal on Friday.
I
Yeah,
thought the same thing. I'm like, why am I on the ship? I don't want to get back.
Yes, I actually thought, because I hadn't walked back into normal after doing it, after killing the final boss, but I kind of expected us to walk in the front door, basically at the opening gate, and to go to the first like teleporter pad, like normal that and it's just the teleporter pads weren't there. They were removed.
Yeah, and then when you go back to it, for some reason, the ads were still there, and so some people started getting nommed on until a tank, me, went back there and tried to save some lives.
Yeah, it was just odd.
Yeah.
It
So,
was fun though. It was a good time.
Now, we didn't do a count on who got trinkets on Argus.
No, but a couple did drop though.
Yeah,
I got
I'm-
mine last week. That's what it was.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, but
that.
I
I don't
heard
think we
somebody's.
got many this time.
No, I heard a couple people's. I think one or two people say they got theirs this
Yeah.
week that didn't have it. And it's those folks that were picking it up. I think one of them had enough of the upgrade tokens that they were pretty much caught up with everybody else. So I'm really glad they did that.
Yeah, that's really cool because if you don't have the luck, you just keep collecting those. What are they? Just a trinket or a stone of some sort.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
some kind of upgrade.
Yeah,
Yeah, Pantheon's Blessing, I think, is what it's called.
yeah,
Yeah.
And it's you can just collect those. Although our first week we killed him, I didn't get one of those, and a bunch of other people did, and some people got their. Nobody got their trinket that first week, but a bunch of people got those, and I was just like, well, I feel like I should have gotten one of those, and then every week after that I got one.
Yeah, I didn't know they didn't drop. I think there might have been someone's got a 1,000 yet already, or 970 or 970. No, 9.
I think I finally got mine up to 970.
Mine's at 980 right now.
Mine's 980. I
Yeah,
think most
mine's
are 980.
980.
Yeah,
I thought
see, I
someone had
missed a
someone
couple
one
of
higher.
Argus runs though too.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's nice though that you could collect them before you get the trinket, so that you don't have to go for weeks again without being able to level it up.
Sure.
Yeah, see, mine's 975 because I missed a week there that we downed it that I wasn't there. But yeah, I think that's a fantastic mechanic.
And while I didn't get any actual gear upgrades this week that I can wear, like I couldn't replace any piece of gears, I did start to collect some more of the heroic tier pieces for the first and really only mage tier set that I think is just awesome, like top to bottom, which is the heroic version of the mage tier set in Antorus the Burning Throne. I love that set.
Yeah.
Oh, it's all black and red and cool looking. It's not a robe. Finally, not a robe for a mage.
Ooh, weird. Not a dress?
No, it's not, and it looks cool, man. I really like it, and so I've been looking forward to collecting those pieces, and so I've got I think I've got the chest. I've got the appearance of the chest, the shoulders, and the belt so far, but I absolutely want to collect that whole set. It's one of the first ones that I'm like, ooh, I've got to have that whole set, and then wear the whole set together.
See, that's why I'm really glad my mage is a girl, because she looks good in a dress.
Hey, JoBui looks pretty good in his robes, depending on the robe.
You still got hairy legs, man.
You
Yeah,
don't
you are
see
a
his-
Yeah.
woman.
You just barely see his big old
His big
claws sticking
toes.
out from the bottom. Yeah, his big
Too bad
toes
you
sticking
couldn't
out
paint
from the
those
bottom.
suckers.
Well, while we're being honest, it's the drool on the chest that gets to me.
Oh my god. Maybe they
So-
can get a bib transmog.
Yeah, there you go. So Tap doesn't know this, but we actually have an advertising sponsor for this month.
No,
So
really?
yeah, actually, somebody actually paid to put their ad on our podcast.
Wow, that is awesome. Who is it?
Well, listen to this.
Ooh, nice segue.
Are movies, gaming, TV, comics, and general nerdy culture your life? They are for the guys at Nerdy Things Podcast. There's no more entertaining way to stay up to date on your nerdy news than listening to the Nerdy Boys discuss this week's biggest hits before diving deeper into a main topic that's sure to tingle your nerdy senses. You can find a new episode every Thursday on the podcatcher of your choice. And on YouTube, they have exclusive extras added through the week like movie reviews and more. Don't wait. Add Nerdy Things Podcast to your library as soon as you finish this episode. Links are in the description below.
That was
Isn't that-
awesome. Yeah.
Isn't that
Wow,
cool?
that's fantastic.
Yeah.
No, that sounds so good. We should have more people like that.
Well, that's Kevin, Jules, and Tim over at Nerdy Things Podcast. And if you haven't listened to their podcast, please go listen to it. It's pretty good. It's on everything, though, not just World of Warcraft. But the reason he picked us is because he used to, Kevin, that's the person I've been in contact with, is because he used to play World of Warcraft. So
Cool.
I'm thinking you should
Nice.
get back in and come join us, Kevin. So,
I think
you know,
so.
yeah, there's your invite. If you ever decide that you want to get back into WoW, let me know. Send me an email, and we'll get you in there. So this is our last advertising with us for this month. Maybe they'll do another month. I don't know. It'd be interesting to find out how many people that we sent to them. And I know our fan base has gone up a little bit, the last few days. So yeah, that's pretty cool. So, and then we had a comment, guys. Now
Ooh,
this is on our Discord channel. So,
I like comments.
yep, if you look at our description, we have a YouTube channel, and there's links down below there. And then if you go to podomatic.com and go to our webpage there's a description on every episode, and I have all the links down below, so you can get a hold of JobUI, you can get a hold of Charity if you have questions about DPS or healing. And we have our Facebook page. You can post stuff there. That's facebook.com / Lions Pride Tavern. And we're also now on potable.co. That's pretty
Ooh.
cool. Yeah.
That is cool.
So, yeah. You can find us all there. And if you want to leave us a comment, then you can do that. Discord channel comment. So this is what this guy said. And I'm going to murder the name because I even asked my wife, I said, how do you say this name if it's Jyde? Is that Jade or Jide or? So I don't know. I'm gonna call
Rhymes
it
with
Jade.
hide.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Hyde, Jide, or maybe it's even Hyde. Maybe the J is an H. I don't know. But he's on Discord channel. He says been listening to the podcast for a while and loving it. So
Very cool.
he also said
nice.
that once the new expansion pops, he may join. May join us and run around with us. So
Oh, that'd be
now
cool.
I'm
Cool.
assuming it's a he, so don't get that. If it's a girl, I'm totally apologetic. I don't. It's hard to know if it's guys or girls with just a single name like that.
And if
But
you're both
welcome.
or neither, Fafford's fine with that too.
Yes.
And by the way, Tappuccino is now in the 21st century and has a smartphone, so I can take
Nice.
our podcasts wherever I go and listen to them
Hmm.
whenever I want.
Awesome.
Although my
Wow.
boss may say not during work, but I do have breaks and lunch.
That's how we found Charity. She used to listen to us at work on her phone. While she's sitting there working, and I email or what did I do? I saw one of her videos on YouTube, and I commented to her, and she commented back that she watches or listens to our podcast, and I was like, wow, that was cool. And now she's a member of our team, but just not here this weekend.
Yep, she's away on a vacation, I believe.
Yeah, which is a good thing.
Yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it was great for that she was able to take over for me. I really appreciated it.
Oh, yeah. And we're really appreciating the fact that you are replacing her for tonight, Tap. It's been a while.
Yeah.
It has, and I love being back. I wish I hope to do it more often. Well, not that I want her to be on vacation all the time.
I'm sure she
but
does.
it would be nice to come back here and there and say hi and see how everything's going.
Yeah.
Well, I'd say we probably love doing this podcast as much as our viewers enjoy it too.
I would hope so.
Yeah, certainly.
So, all right. Well, let's move on. We have a series that we normally do, and Tap was one of the originators of this series, and that's our Dancing with the Bosses. So we talk about one boss, and from the perspective of each one of us for DPS ranged, DPS melee, tank, and healer. So, and we're doing Kingaroth tonight, our favorite. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
The joy
So-
he brings to our raid team is inestimable.
Yeah,
I'll work on
something
that.
like that.
I love that boss so much I couldn't remember him.
No, his little trauma, you blocked him out.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, JoBui, why don't you start off with range DPS?
Okay, with this fight, we typically start off the beginning of the fight with heroing and hitting the boss pretty hard. And after, I believe it's about 20 seconds or something along those lines, a big ad will spawn in the corner. And at that point, we will turn and attack the big ad, trying to kill it as quickly as we can. Another big ad will spawn in another corner. And with our group, we usually focus one down, and then we go after the other one. Now, the big ads, when they show up in the corner, they kind of stand there as they're being, I guess, teleported in or something to that effect. And they don't do anything initially. But once they start moving, those big ads have various different types of attacks. They'll have annihilation, which the annihilation is like a I think that it's like a green circle that shows up on the ground that people have to stand in. There's a decimation that one of them does, that is like a big red circle that gets around players and they have to take that out to the edge of the platform. And then there's another one called demolish, which is I think that one it puts like a blue circle around players, and players need to stack up with whoever's afflicted with demolish. And so you have to deal with whatever big ad is roaming around. You have to deal with the mechanics that big ad casts. But if hopefully we usually kill the first big ad, so that one doesn't get to do any casting at all. And then we go after the second big ad and we kill it, and the boss reactivates, because when the ads are being summoned, the boss puts up a shield and takes like 99% less damage, so it's pointless to attack the boss. So you just pretty much stay on the ads. Now, even when the ad comes off the platform and starts going back to the boss and the tanks pick it up and bring it over to the boss, you still have to stay on the ad. And the reason why is because every time you kill an ad, it takes a chunk of health off the boss, much faster than if we were just pummeling the boss with our spells and whatnot. So it's a really good idea for people to focus the ad. In fact, it's essential for players to focus the ad and then to cleave off to the boss. And so that's what I do as arranged, and I just deal with whichever mechanics are up. The way we usually do it, it's typically that I have to deal with the decimation, which is the large orange circle that I have to take to the edge of the platform. And there's some other mechanics that I have to deal with as well. One, there is what are called diabolic bombs, which are these you get a purple swirl on the ground and it turns into a ball, and the ball will start rolling around the circle around the boss. It can show up anywhere, like on the inside of the ring or on the outside of the ring or in the middle or somewhere in between, and you have to just kind of keep an eye out for them. And the diabolical bomb, if you get hit by it, it does a large amount of damage at the epicenter, but then the further you are away from it, the less damage it does. Sometimes the tanks will pop those, but most of the time I just completely try to avoid them. And then around I try not to ever get near the inside, because the boss can put up these little towers that do AoE damage, so I don't go there. And then there's this big attack that you have to avoid, and this pretty much everybody does, called the Ruiner. And he takes his big claw hand and he points it out at one location. Once he starts casting it, he stays pointing in that direction like most of the time.
I hate that thing.
Yeah, a lot of players do. And then he will start turning, like he'll shoot out this great big beam that does enormous amounts of damage, and he'll start turning either clockwise or anti-clockwise, and you don't know which way he's going to turn. So your best bet is as soon as you see that claw go out, what I usually do is try and get as far away from the direction he's pointing that claw as possible. Sometimes I get almost all the way to the other side of him, and I don't even have to move while he does his beam shooty thing, because he'll just start rotating around, but he only does about maybe a quarter to a third of the way around the platform with his beam before he stops shooting his beam, and you're perfectly safe. And he never switches directions once he starts. Like if he starts moving clockwise, he stays moving clockwise the whole time. And it's best to, if you do have to run away from it, run away on the inside of the ring if you can, because it's further to run on the outside of the ring and he'll probably catch you and kill you. So other than that, it's pretty much a rinse and repeat fight at that point. Now we do get different different ads at different platforms, and we usually have a priority that we use. We like to do like when you enter in, there's a platform to your left and a platform to your right. We usually do the ad at the platform to the left first on the first set of ads, and then on the second set of ads, we do the platform that is all the way on the other side of the room where you come in, and then on the third set of ads, we do the same spot as we did in the first one. And then whichever ad shows up in the other platforms, we kill that one second. And that's pretty much it for ranged. Just
I
I
was
know
just waiting for you to say
Just a
"It's
little bit."
just that easy.
well, honestly, I like this fight from a range perspective. I
Yeah.
enjoy the actual mechanics of it. It's tough. It's interesting. It's
Keeps
a
you on
little
your toes.
yeah, it's kind of chaotic, and I got lots of stuff I can look for, but I can do lots of cool damage. And as a fire mage, I can cleave off to the boss when I'm hitting the ad. So, my DPS looks good on the meters, and I like my DPS looking good on the meters. And it's fun, but I mean, it can really go wrong. There are a lot of ways
I
it can go
enjoyed a
wrong.
lot too, but yeah, when you get the cascade failure going on, it's just a little less so.
Yeah, and you
I-
can fall off. You can fall off the platform. I have
Yes,
done this.
we have proven that a few times.
Yeah, I blinked a little bit the wrong way and stepped right off the platform and fell to my doom. You do
Don't
come
blink
back.
or you'll miss it.
Yeah, you do come back up onto the platform if you do fall off. So if you're gonna get it rezzed, you'll come up like right in front of where you first walked into the room. So your corpse does come back up in that fight.
Yeah, instead of spending the entire fight down below looking at nothing.
Ah, I hate those fights.
Yes. So I'm not a hater, but I hate that ruiner beam. I hate it.
Yeah.
I don't even want to think about what it's going to be like on heroic. Ugh.
Oh gosh.
Now, I got one question for you, JoeBuoy. What is the reasoning behind doing one particular mini boss over another?
The purpose of that is what mechanics you have to deal with from the mini boss that gets to the boss. Because like I said, when they're in the corner, they don't cast their mechanic, like the demolish, the decimation, or the annihilation. And we've just found that we don't like the demolish, which is the one where players have to group up in order to survive it. We don't like that one because people are getting chased around by the beam. They're having to dodge balls. There's a lot of mechanics that require movement. And when you stack up on that, like you get a group of people, they stack up to help that person soak it, and then the ruiner comes out and blah, there goes 10 people, right? So it'll kill you. The decimation is a little easier to deal with. It's just on a single player. You take it out to the edge. Everybody else make sure they don't get into your circle once you stop moving, and you're really only getting like a half circle on the platform. And the annihilation, we don't usually get that one either. Because we tend to kill the decimation or the annihilate, or we tend to kill the demolish or the annihilation mini boss. But if you get the annihilation one, that one's also not so bad. It's just multiple players get in the green circle and stand in it, and they just soak the damage. But it's not as bad as like the demolish one.
Okay. Yep.
So it's just strictly the mechanics that the mini bosses do.
Yeah. Perfect. All right. Well, that'll give our fans a little, school for thought. So,
Or scare the wits out of them.
And by the way, the ads are named according to the mechanics that they provide. So it's like the Guidotti Annihilator, the Guidotti Decimator, and the Guidotti Demolisher. So they do what they say, what they're named. So it's pretty easy to tell which one is which.
Yeah, just the Ruinator is the Hateinator.
Yeah.
All right, Lorelei, from melee perspective.
Well, for melee, we have to avoid everything that ranged has to avoid. But I would say that for me and what I do is I worry more about positioning. I can avoid the balls. Those are pretty easy to avoid. But when you're, you got to keep track of where the tanks are. And I found what made it easy for me to avoid the Ruinator was to try to stand behind the boss as much as possible. That way I can see which way his arm is pointing easier, and I can avoid it. I haven't been hit by it too much anymore once I've done that, but I do have to keep track of where the two tanks are. And the other hard part is when you're in the down phase, and you're getting the mini bosses, you've got to avoid the, what's it called? The Apocalypse Blast that's on the ground, because usually when you've killed the first mini boss over off to the side, that whole little strip fills up with those blasts. So you've got to be careful not to get hit by several of them at the same time. So sometimes I'll run, depending on what's going on, an opposite way, if it's clear. That way I don't have to worry about getting caught by those things. But I think for melee, it's all about positioning yourself when the boss is active, and just stay behind it, and you'll be able to see where the arm is pointing and then which way it's getting ready to move.
Perfect. All right. Epistle from a tanking perspective.
Yeah, I do love the chaos of this one, and perhaps the way we tank it, it creates a little more of the chaos. I know some groups lock their tanks down in a certain position. We tend to be flexible and move. Well, we have to. He puts this thing on the ground when he does his forging strike that we have to be out of. So, yeah, it's hard to be stuck in one particular position. And they stay throughout the duration of the fight, so yeah, when you stand somewhere for a while, you kind of lose the use of that space. So other than that, other than the forging strike that comes down, which creates a kind of a tank swap mechanic, and running off into the base to get one of these ads that shows up, it's fairly straightforward. We take time if we can. If we're off tanking at the time and there's no ad, we'll zip out and do a little mitigation and get hit by one of the purple swirlies to take some of that damage and not damage the raid as a result. Otherwise, it's it's just kind of run around and in circles around the boss and make sure you're positioning for where the next bay is opening up, and mitigate, because he hits like a Mack truck.
Never been hit by a Mack truck, but I don't think I want to.
I am speaking metaphorically, not totally literally.
So, Tap, from a healing perspective, how's this fight for you?
Chaos, chaos, chaos. It is a very chaotic fight, and as a healer, you have to watch your raid's health. You want to make sure that everybody's up, so you're watching your healing bars, but you also have to, as they say, watch the mechanics. It's very important to know which mini boss you're on, for instance, so that if you do have to run around to avoid the beam, you know where to run to once the beam is done. Having a lot of huts is very useful because there's a lot of running around. There's not a lot of standing still and casting. Avoiding the balls and the beams. It's chaotic. That's all I can say.
So do you find that you use a lot more mana because you're moving around more? Because I know a lot of the healing is stationary type healing, isn't it?
Actually, you don't use as much mana because the heals that I have use a lot of mana for when you're stationary, and the huts don't use as much mana, when you're running around and throwing huts on people, so it is a good fight if you do have a lot of huts. So knowing where the mini boss is and where most of the raid's going to be, so you can throw your healing circles down and keeping people up with your huts and avoiding the stuff. There's a lot of those swirlies that go around at the mini bosses, so you got to move out of that, and just keeping people up. It's just chaotic. You just run and heal, run and heal, run and heal.
All right, yeah, fair enough. So do you find, is the platform smaller? Do you find that you don't have to be closer to people, or is that one of those fights where you have to, when everybody goes to the other mini boss, you have to follow them and get over there?
Well, you do need to follow them because it's easier to avoid the balls and the beam if you're closer to people. It's just, especially with the healing circle, that way you can get it in it as well. So it's just easier for the group all to be together for the healers, that it's easier to heal them.
Sure. Yeah. No, that's good. All right. Well, if you guys have any questions or comments about King Garoth or any of the bosses we've done so far, we've only got 4 left to do. So another month and we'll be done with this whole series. But please, by all means, get a hold of us and on any of our platforms we've got out there and ask us the question. We'll answer it on the air the best we can. So, but I think it's time. I hear the music, It's time for Lorelei's Pet Battle Minute.
Hi, I'm back with some good teams to help you battle your way through Argus. Last week I started with a couple of pet tamers on Corkin, so let's finish up there. And I have to say, you don't need many different teams when battling pets out here. Your two best pets to have are Icky and the unborn Valkyr. To make things easy, let's deal with Death Screech, Gnasher, and Ruin Hoof. You'll need the same team for all three tamers. Start with your Valkyr and use her awesome combo of Curse of Doom and Haunt. When she dies, bring in Icky and follow up with Black Claw and Flock. All of these tamers will die quickly, so there's no need to have a third pet. But you can switch in a leveling pet between them, but remember, it's not necessary to have them attack. Just switch them in and switch them right out. The last tamer in Corkin is Foul Claw, and for this fight, you only need Icky and his kick butt combo of Black Claw and Flock. No need to bring along another pet, but if RNG is against you, just restart and you should be okay. Sometimes the crit gods are with us, and sometimes they're not. These fights can be a little ho-hum, but if you're fairly new to pet battling, they'll be a good opportunity to practice following a rotation and bringing in a leveling pet. Don't forget to use your add-ons, safari hat, and special pet treats to help you level up those new pets. And come back next week and we'll take a look at the best teams for Antoran Wastes. Happy pet battling!
And then there's
Getting Deeps with JoeBui.
Improve your DPS with this one weird trick. Act now and get 2 DPS for the price of 1 while supplies last. But wait, there's more. No, not really. In fact, there's no easy quick trick that is going to turn you into an all-star DPS. There are, however, a ton of ways that you can improve your DPS a little bit here and a little bit there. Mostly, it comes down to practice and familiarity. So if you want to improve your DPS, you're simply going to have to put in the time, the research, and build up the muscle memory so you can continue to DPS effectively while still paying attention to those pesky mechanics. So, my advice to you is to look for your biggest weakness in your DPS and focus on that one thing. It might be that you hold on to your big damage cooldowns for no good reason. Perhaps you aren't utilizing the combination of attacks that pair well together. Or maybe you just stand around doing nothing too often. Whatever the case is, work on fixing that one thing. Once you have that bad habit fixed, or a new good habit developed, address another issue with your DPS. Keep on doing that long enough, and pretty soon you'll be that all-star DPS that you strive to be. It is also important to be forgiving with yourself. No matter how much you improve, you're going to have the occasional bad night. Try not to sweat it too much. Just look at where you went wrong, and like before, work on fixing those issues one at a time, and you'll keep getting those deeps.
only available in participating raids and dungeons.
That was awesome.
I liked it. And next up, our tank and address.
What's wrong with tanking? What's wrong with tanking? What's wrong with tanking in a dress? What's wrong with tanking? What's wrong with tanking? What's wrong with tanking in a dress?
Despite the intro, I actually don't wear a dress, and that's going to be important in a moment because
I know, but it goes with the song.
I know, but this is my segment right here because my decision now is between threat or mitigation, or subtitle for today: do I drop my pants or not? So bear with me, or B-A-R-E with me for a while. One piece of legendary gear that I have gives me awesome AoE threat. Tylicus pants for a paladin, if you must know which one it is. The problem is, according to all the analysis I've done, if I change up those legendary pants for a legendary ring, I'll have much better mitigation. I've also got some other gear pieces that I could use, and Icy Veins is really pushing me into a certain direction. Problem is, when I make the switch, I have a huge drop in threat. I go from looking like a broken AoE machine, picking up everything in our raid, to the point of driving Darg up the wall. I go from that to terrible threat. the AoE threat is meh at best. And single target, we actually had a couple bosses where just doing his normal rotation Darg was pulling off of me. But what did it give me by making this switch? I would probably have about a 10% damage reduction of incoming damage. Now that actually is nothing to sneeze at. That's really huge. But now I'm in this tanking quandary. Do I drop my pants or not? Right? So do I keep them? Do I switch them out to the ring? And you'll deal with all kinds of issues like this from time to time. And you got to make that decision. Which is more important to you right now? I think, and I wouldn't mind some opinions from, a healer, for example, is my sense is I'm already doing terrific mitigation. The healing isn't too stressful. The threat is more an important issue for us as a raid group at this time. So situationally, I can afford to keep my pants on. So that's the question out there right now. Do I keep them or do I not? And that's come at me, a tanking minute.
And here all this time when you're talking in the raid about keeping your pants on and off, I didn't think it was about that.
Oh, you didn't
Me
hear us
either.
running around going, "Oh my God, a pistol! Put your pants back on."
Yeah, that's if the healers are saying that, there's a reason.
I actually got that reference. But the only reason why is because lately I've been gearing up my paladin to do the mage tower, because I want that mace from the mage tower for the protection paladin, the only mace on a chain in the game, and I have to have it. So I have been looking over the legendaries, and they talk about those pants quite often.
That's funny.
Everybody's talking about my pants now.
Yeah, well, I don't have a song that says, anything about a tank in his pants or taking them off. So
maybe we'll inspire somebody.
Yeah, maybe. You never know. Charm, you can say I'll send her an email and see what she comes up with.
Maybe she could write a song about a mage in her pants.
Oh, there's always the what's the Lego movie? Honey, where are my pants?
Oh my God, yes, I remember that. Too funny. All right, and back with us is Tap Into the Healing with Tappuccino.
Yay!
I need a healer. I'm holding out for a healer till the end of the run. They gotta be skilled and they gotta be calm and they gotta be second to none. I need a healer.
Hey, it's good to be back here for a short time anyways. After listening to Charity explain the different healing classes, I thought this would be a good opportunity to touch upon raid healing makeup and flexibility. As you can see, each healing class brings its own spells and cooldowns, and using them at the appropriate time during a boss fight can have a huge impact on its success. If you go into the Wayback Machine, you may remember we were very heavy with Resto Druids. Trank for the win, right? But now our group consists of an entirely different makeup. We still have a couple Resto Druids, but the rest of our team has really changed over the past 6 months or so. We now have our favorite Resto Shaman, Go Shepherd Go. Our Holy Priest went Disc. We have a fairly new Holy Priest, and we recently added a Mistweaver to our ranks. With these changes comes different cooldowns, spells, and movement abilities. Sounds confusing, but what makes us successful is our ability to communicate with each other, enabling us to make changes on the fly, in other words, being flexible. We listen to each other and value each other's experiences and opinions. We are also part of a great raid team who have the same flexibility and willingness to not just take the boss down, but to have fun doing it as well. And that is my Tap Into the Healing Minute.
All right, and then there's... It's WFN News, Warcraft Stafford News. Neither Disruptor is up at the Broken Shores with Epic Hunter and Neither Storm, which I hadn't seen before. Neither Storm. I guess I must not have paid attention to that one. The weekly event is the Legion Dungeon event, so you get to go out there and get your Legion Dungeons done.
Woohoo!
That's such a
What's
good
that?
one.
It's usually
What?
5 or 10 of them.
No,
It's
no
4.
PvP? I'm so
It's
crushed.
4?
It's 4 mythic dungeons and get a piece of heroic gear.
Yeah,
Ooh, guys,
that is worthwhile.
There you go, yes. WoW tokens are at 178 versus 182 last week, so they're kind of staying right in the same area, just kind of bouncing. And sad news, the Lunar Festival ends Saturday, March 3rd. So if you haven't done your Lunar Festival stuff, this is the last week to do it. So, yeah. So we finished a little early, guys. Anybody got anything they want to talk about?
I've been healing. It's been interesting.
Oh, wait, wasn't that
Whoa,
I will
really?
never heal? I thought I heard that
I've
sometime.
been trying it. I made my Void Elf is a healer, Holy Priest, and yeah, it's been pretty fun, and I'm not doing too horrible at it. I will say that I did run into the most toxic player I've run into in WoW while
Wow.
playing my Holy Priest.
While healing?
Yeah, while
Oh,
healing.
really?
That'll
yeah.
happen.
Yeah, I ran an LFR, and we were doing Agramar, and then because I was trying to get the I did the last LFR so I could get the legendary ring from completing the hill on Argus, and these two tanks were like not turning Agramar to face the
Oh, whoops.
raid. And so like they would turn it away and it would kill like one or two people, and then when they did finally like face the raid, they had pulled it to the side, and then they faced the raid and like knocked like half the raid off the platform. And so I suggested nicely, I thought, that they should turn the boss towards the raid group and to keep the boss in the center as much as they could. And and this player got really upset and was like, "Oh, you don't know what you're talking about." I'm like, I do.
Yeah,
but okay.
I do.
And so we finished the raid, right? And we eventually got through that fight. They listened to the advice despite him protesting about I didn't know what I was talking about. That's how he did it though. And then we finished Argus, and after we finished Argus, I got this horrifically toxic message with some of the worst curse words you could possibly come up with, pretty much, telling me that I needed to learn to keep my mouth shut, and that I
Wow.
didn't know, and that I was giving fake advice and stuff. It was really hostile, and I was
Wow.
like, yeah, and I was
Shoot
this
the
was
messenger.
This was like after the raid was over. I mean, we had killed it, and I was just like looting the chest and getting ready to leave the group, and I get a private whisper from this character, and and I was like, wow, that was a little crazy. Now,
Somebody needs a hug.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
He needs therapy.
Hug
but
therapy,
he-
maybe.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
he thought I was a female player, and because my character is female. And so he just assumed that I was a female player, I guess, and thought that he could just, say whatever he
Bully
wanted.
you.
And
Yeah.
Wow.
and I gotta say, and this is just a message, and I don't think any of our listeners are like that, and I hope not, certainly. But if you are, take a step back and treat other people with respect, because I was super disappointed with that guy. I did report him, I reported him
probably would have. Yeah.
for language, because it was way out of line. But be kind to other players out there. There's no reason to be vile, disgusting people in
Well,
games.
it's too easy to do it because you're behind a keyboard and nobody knows where you're at, and it's a telephone tough guy is all it is.
Yeah,
And
I
it's
know.
it's
I
a
mean,
shame
people want to
that-
have fun.
Yeah,
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
what we're all doing.
I was honestly shocked, and and if you women players out there deal with this on a regular basis, man, I'm really sorry. Not because I do it, but because there are people out there who do. Because that was just
And don't put up with it if you do get that
Oh, yeah.
harassment. People don't put
Mhm.
up with it.
Yeah.
a
Report
little
that player.
Yeah, there's a little known fact that a lot of people may not know about, where if a player consistently harasses other players and gets reported about it, and they're like talking nastily towards people, and they get reported enough, Blizzard will give them a silence timeout, where they are not allowed to send private messages. They can only talk to like a raid group if they have joined a private raid group. They can't talk to LFR. They can't talk in trade chat. They can't send whispers. They get silenced if they violate the, basically the conduct too often. So if you run into a toxic player like I did today, be sure you report them.
Yep. I even know a guy that raided with us that all of a sudden he stopped raiding, and he finally texted me on my phone. And he goes, "I got kicked out of WoW." because of talking to somebody. But he was one of those people that if you didn't listen to him, he became upset and he would start using the wrong kind of words, to talk
Sure.
to somebody. And enough people finally just got sick of it and reported him. And then he got banned. I think it was a week, and then he was back. But yeah, I mean, this is just a game, people. I mean,
Yeah.
come on.
Yeah.
Chill out,
But on the flip side of that, I am enjoying my Holy Priest healer. It's weird. It is totally weird for me to play. I'm like, I run into like I mostly do world quests and stuff with her, but like I join groups to do the world quest and like I feel like I should hit the boss once because I don't feel like if I just heal the people who are doing it, like I won't get credit or something. And
Yeah.
I do. But I feel like I better like just tag the boss with 1 damage ability just in case.
Hey,
You know-
on an up note too for raiding with less savory characters, I was in an LFR on Epistle, and one guy was being a total yahoo and talking like he knew what he was doing. Clearly he didn't. I was outlining what we're going to do and how we should work. And I think it was maybe the first or second week it was out even on LFR. And this guy was just being a jerk and had done a couple of Yahoo moves, and maybe it was our third pull. And I said, well, actually, I'm not going to pull until we remove this guy from group because he's just unpleasant. And so he did your typical kind of move, and he pulled the boss towards us, but he didn't know what was going to happen. The minute he pulled the boss, I didn't pull because I knew it was going to kill him, so I waited a couple seconds. He died. Just as he died, he's booted from group. I throw the shield, grab the boss, and we have a perfect clear from there on in.
Awesome.
Good.
Nice.
Sometimes justice is served.
Yeah.
Yep, worked out well for everybody, and justly for another.
Well,
Yep.
I managed to talk one of my friends into coming back to WoW because he was in one of those situations where, the groups that he ran with were just very vile and not nice people. And he said, "You play World of Warcraft?" And I was like, "Yeah, we have a great team. We do a podcast and blah blah blah." And so he got back into WoW. He started paying for it again, leveled up a character, and he's been on a couple raids with us. But he kind of bounces back and forth between what games he's playing. He was actually injured he was in the army and got injured, so he's he doesn't work, so he's kind of retired. But so he has a lot of time to play. But yeah, he that was the reason he got out of World of Warcraft, was from those people, just joining groups that were just nasty and people.
That's a shame.
It's just a game, and I know it gets frustrating because all games do. You get to that point where you're banging your head against the wall and you're banging your head against the wall, and it's almost to the point where it's not fun anymore. But what you got to do is just step back and go, what are we doing that isn't allowing us to get past this point? Because every game designer wants you to succeed, but also wants to give you a challenge. So there is a way around it. You just may not know what it is.
Yeah, actually,
Yep.
speaking of that, I actually listened to a talk by one of the designers of the raids, the chief designer, I think, of our current raids, and she said that her job is to make sure that the players win, but not too easily, because if they win too easily, they'll be angry. But if she kills them all the time, they'll be angry. So she has to find a way to have it be like that nice middle ground. And I would say that we've all seen the loading screen tips, right? I've for the whole time I played WoW, I think my favorite load screen tip is being polite while in a group with others will get you invited back.
Yes.
Yeah.
I like that one.
Yeah. Of course,
And
I also
she
like the
deserve-
one about bringing the boss's health to 0 while keeping your health above 0. I like that
I
one too.
love
Yeah.
that one. I just saw that one the other day.
Maybe Blizzard, since Blizzard listens to us all the time, is that they should give that girl a raise, because I think she does a fantastic job on our raids.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kept me playing. What are we on, our 13th, 14th year anniversary of WoW?
Yeah, I might have.
Yeah, something like that, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I might have fired her for Maiden, but she redeemed
Yeah,
herself.
we still
mean,
hold the grudge. And
I do.
that what was it? The 0.2% or something we didn't get on Coven. Yeah, that would have been nice too.
So, all
But
right,
that
guys.
was probably our own.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I think it probably was. I don't think it had anything to do with her. She was probably going, "Hey, I did my job. They almost
Yeah,
got
exactly.
it, but they didn't quite."
And some people do get it.
Yeah. So we reached our time, guys. Thanks for coming. Tap, thank you for taking up Charity's spot for this episode.
Oh, it was my great pleasure. Let me tell
Yeah.
you, my
Welcome
very
back.
great pleasure.
Yeah,
Thank
good to have you
It was
back,
great to
Tap.
be here.
We'll keep the
And-
seat warm for you.
Yeah.
Thank you
right?
very much.
And I'd like to thank Charm for all of her beautiful music. Please go visit her website and her YouTube channel. Links are in the description below. Plus BenSound at bensound.com. And Vincent Moretto for our heavy metal tavern music. Yeah. Thanks everybody for coming, and we'll see you all next week.
See you next week.
Thank you.
Have a
See you,
great night.
folks.
I kissed an orc and I liked it. The taste of his Bulgur chapstick. I kissed an orc just to try it. I hope my ally friends don't mind it. It felt so wrong, it felt so right. Don't meet up in love tonight.
And after listening to Charity, hold on.
Yeah.
What did I say,
You've created
Shepherd?
a-
Oh,
You've
this
created
is
a
like
challenge.
classic. I feel like it's, like she never left.
Where have you been? Yeah.
So I started writing each one of the mistakes down, and I just finally went, review all Tap's healing minute.
But it's gonna sound so awesome when it's done.
Yes.
Yeah, he'll
Yeah.
fix it.
Good
Hey,
editing.
he's only got.
I get so tongue-tied. I can't help it.
Oh man, last week it was really bad for me. Last week.
Yes.
A new personal record.
Yeah, it was really bad for me last week. This week it was much smoother.
Yeah.
I had one mistake, I think.